Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I hope you are having a fantastic day so far. As you can see from the title down below, today I am going to be getting into every single shade of the new 5-pan palettes from Profusion. These are the Globetrotter 5-pan palettes. These are my favourite little palettes. I absolutely love these 5 pans from Profusion, and I got all 6 ones, so we're going to be getting into all of these today, and then I'm going to be doing some sort of an eyeshadow look. I think I've used all of these already, like off camera, so that I can give you my actual thoughts and feelings on all of the colours. However, in every single one of these palettes, they have this incredible centre shade, and in all of these palettes I haven't touched those because I know that they're going to be incredible and I want to capture my thoughts on camera. So we're going to be getting into all of these today. These retail for $3.99, and like I say, there's 6 of them. I'm going to be swatching all of them and then just picking one and doing some sort of eye look with it. So if you want to see my thoughts on all of these, just keep on watching. So I'm going to be doing these basically in no particular order. I'm going to start with the Wild Hot Spring palette. This is what the packaging looks like, and then the colours inside look a little something like this. So we've got 3 mattes, this orange, this teal and this brown are mattes. Then this shade at the end is ever so slightly glittery. It's like a matte shade with micro glitters in it. And then this shade in the centre, which looks like the most beautiful shimmer. But like I say, I haven't tried these shimmers. In the 5-pan palettes that came out in the summer, the like florally named ones, the centre shade is a glitter, like a chunky, really reflective, very chunky glitter that's almost in like a gel base. This looks very different though. This looks like a shimmer, but like a very intense shimmer, so I'm excited to swatch these. Like I say, I'm going to start with Wild Hot Spring. So first up we have the shade Steam, and this is that very pale yellow with the micro glitters in it. I feel like I can see that in real life, but not on my little viewfinder. It is a very sort of pastel-y yellow. Then we have Thermal, which is a matte, almost like a burnt orangey sort of colour, and I have really been enjoying using this one just as like a wash of colour all over the lid with a really intense black wing and lots of liner. I love doing a very sort of bold look with like a burnt orangey shade. I definitely think it brings out the colour in my eyes. Then skipping over that centre shade, I'm going over to the next matte one, which is called Soak. And this is the most incredible matte teal shade, which we all know is my favourite colour. And then we've got Volcanic, which again is a matte. And that one, which I have just swatched absolutely appallingly, I do apologise, is a really beautiful warm chocolatey brown. So you could definitely do something with that one where you do like a smoky wing over the top of that burnt orangey colour. I love the formula of these mattes. They're so pigmented, but they blend really easily as well. So if I just wipe off those swatches off my fingers, then I can go into this centre shade, which this one is called Hot Spring, and it feels really creamy, really smooth, not like the ones in the summer palettes, like the flory ones that I was saying about, where they were more of a very intense glitter. That is a beautiful foil almost, and almost like a duochrome. Can you see where that's like catching the light? That is a beautiful shade. Okay, I love that shade. Like I say, I haven't tried any of these centre shades before, so I didn't really know what to expect. I certainly wasn't expecting it to be as smooth as that. That's really like a foil that will just go over the lid beautifully. So when I am swatching and things, I do like to go over the mattes with 2 layers so that you can really see the intensity of the colours and how they will actually look on your eyes as you sort of build the colours up. So that's all of those with 2 layers. Like I said, that has been one of my favourite shades out of all of these. I've really enjoyed using that burnt orangey shade. I have also really enjoyed the warm orangey shades in this next one that I'm going to talk about, which is Canyon Oasis. And like I say, I love a burnt orangey sort of a look. I also love like a mustardy look, another shade that I really feel like works perfectly on blue eyes. So this one, all of them are matte apart from that centre shade. I really enjoy a matte eye look with like a little pop of something perhaps, so I really like that this one is basically just all mattes apart from that centre shade. So here we've got the shade Plateau, and this is more of like a neutrally very light sort of sandy brown. Then we've got the shade Rim, which is like a mustardy, very warm yellowy shade. Again, I will build these up with 2 layers and show you what that looks like. Then we've got the shade Canyon, which is another burnt orangey but darker than this one from that first palette, more of an actual like burnt orange, whereas this one in comparison looks like quite a bright orange now. And then we've got Breathtaking, which is almost like a burgundy brown, very deep, very smoky. Let me just build up another layer on these ones and then we'll get into that shimmer. So that is what all of those matte shades look like with the second layer, and like I say, I'm now going to dip into Natural Wonder, which is the centre shade here. Again, feels the same, feels very smooth, almost creamy, not like, I don't feel like it's wet, I don't feel like it's a cream shadow, but it just feels so incredibly smooth. And I feel like I'm going to absolutely love this colour. So let me put it here. Yes, that is incredible. So again, it is like a foil duochrome where it's like gold, and then when it catches the light it's almost reflecting like a greeny. That's really pretty. I love that shade a lot. So next up we have got the Wilderness Explorer. So as you can probably tell from the packaging, this is a green palette. Again, I feel like I'm probably going to say this with every palette, but I love a green eyeshadow look. I just think it's such a statement, and I have actually only used 1 shade from this palette, and it's this sort of khaki green down at this end, but this, like I was saying with that first one, just all over the lid with a wing, just one block colour, really packed on, blended out a little bit at the edges, but mostly just like completely just packing the colour on and getting a really intense amount of colour, with a big wing, which is also a Profusion product, and a lot of mascara. That is my favourite way to wear colour, just on an everyday basis, but I do feel like you've got a really great selection of like brighter greens and then more dusky greens, and this shimmer looks different in the centre, where the other ones, the other 2 palettes, almost had like a marbling to them. This one just looks completely like all the same colour. So and again, these are all matte apart from that centre shade, so let me swatch the mattes. So first up we've got a really bright light green, and this one is called Protect. Again, I don't feel like that's really showing up on camera. I can definitely see it in real life, and you'll probably be able to see it better on the second swatch. Then we've got Forest, which is a slightly brighter, almost like a grass green. It's very bright but still sort of light and neutral enough that I feel like I could just wear that all over the lid for an everyday look. Then onto that one that I said I have worn before, which is more of a khaki dusky green, and that one is called Adventure. And then we've got Uninhabited. That really confused my little brain for a second there, and that is a dark bottle green. Okay, so like I say, let me just go in with a second layer. Okay, so that's how those matte green shades are looking with the second layer, and I do feel like this is a good representation of how the colour is actually going to look on your eye, because generally I will dip in my brush into the pan, tap it off and apply, and then I will go in with a second layer. So I will always have that second layer of colour. I will always build it up a little bit more unless I'm wanting something that's just like a really sheer wash of colour, but generally I will have 2 layers. That's why I like to do the 2 layers on the swatches. But that centre shade I have already swirled my finger into, and just look how incredible and foiled that colour is. So let me put that one just there. How intense is that reflect? I do feel like I'm going to get more use out of these centre shades than I do the ones in the summer palettes, because the ones that came out in the summer are such an intense chunky glitter. It's too much, even for me, it's too much for an everyday look, whereas something smoother, more reflective, that sort of duochrome sort of a feeling is more of an everyday vibe for me than this amazing chunky glitter. It is just too much for an everyday look, but these I feel are a lot more wearable. So now we are getting away from the warmer tones, and the next 3 are a lot cooler. So the next one up is called Scenic Lake, and that is what the packaging looks like for this one. So it's this beautiful sort of tealy turquoisey, and then this is what the inside looks like. So you've definitely got a pop of something, but I do feel like the other shades are more sort of neutrally everyday bluey shades, and again these are all matte apart from the centre shade. So first up we have the lightest pastely blue that actually on my skin is showing up basically like one step away from being a white. That is like the lightest blue eyeshadow that I have ever seen in my life. That one is called Crystalline. Then we've got Frozen, which is a beautiful deep navy, very, very neutral. Again, like it's not too bright. I definitely feel like that could be worn just for an everyday sort of a look. Then we've got Fresh Water, which is a bright minty turquoisey sort of a bluey greeny shade. And then we have got Stream, which again is a bright, still quite light but almost lilac toned blue. So again, let me do a second layer. So that brightest blue shade did just go a little bit wonky, so do excuse the very poor state of the swatches. I'm not actually very good at swatching on my own arm and also showing you at the same time, but that is what they look like with the 2 layers. And then I have just dipped my finger into that centre shade, and I feel like this one, even like as I was sort of trying to get the product onto my finger there, it feels very different. This one feels drier, this one feels more like a topper, and I don't know if you will be able to see even on my finger there how it just looks a little bit more sheer. It just looks like it's not showing up as much. Yeah, and on the swatch there, like it's nice, but it's more like a topper. And I also feel like that is sort of showing up more of a warmer sort of white shade, more like a topper, and I don't really feel like it goes with the rest of the palette. I mean, it's nice enough, but I feel a little bit underwhelmed with the shimmer in that one compared to the others. Compared to the previous three, I do feel like that one is a little bit underwhelming. The mattes, however, if you are into a blue, you are into more of a cooler tone, even like a pastel-y cool tone, that is a really, really beautiful selection of matte shades. Just maybe don't buy it if you're wanting that shimmer shade to basically show up as anything. I'm a little bit disappointed in that one. So then next up we have got Mountain Trail. So if you liked the look of the previous one but you were wanting something a little bit deeper and a little bit purple, a little pop of purple, then this would be the one that I would recommend. I'm fairly certain, I've slept since I filmed it, but I'm fairly certain I have filmed with this palette. If I can remember what video it was, I will leave it linked in the description box, and I will also pin a comment so that you can go and find it. But again, 4 mattes, 1 shimmer, and I feel like, especially if you are of a deeper skin tone than me, this would be a really, really beautiful one because the colours go deeper. Or if you are fair like me and you want something that's really smoky, this would be a beautiful one. So let's swatch. So I just wanted to show you before I swatch these on my hand, look how intense the pigment is on these shades. Even that lightest shade, which is called Fresh Air, this white, how intense is that colour to really like brighten something up. That is a beautiful shade. So let's swatch. Like I say, this one is called Fresh Air, and I'm fairly certain that this isn't going to show up very much because it is the same colour as my skin tone. Then we have got Alpine, which is a beautiful, deep, but still bright purple. That's like a Cadbury purple if I ever saw one. That is a beautiful colour. Then we have Highland, which is again a beautiful tealy, turquoisey deep shade. Really, really love that shade. And then we have got Grounded, which on first swatch I thought was going to be a brown, but I actually think that that's more of like a khaki shade. It's definitely got some green in it. I do feel like that all over the lid, blended out with a big wing, there's a theme here. That's how I love to wear these eyeshadows, because they're so intense, because the pigment is there. You can just do the quickest eye look, and that's how I like to use them. So I'm just going to put a second layer over the top of all of these so that we can really see. Oh, and I've just messed that one up with my nail. We can really see how intense those colours are. That tealy shade is calling my name. I absolutely love that shade, and I'm very excited by the centre shade of this one because it looks like it's going to be the most incredible browny, neutrally shimmer, but with almost like a bluey reflect. That's what I'm predicting. So let me swirl into this one. This one feels creamy. This one feels like the first three where it was very intense. Oh, that is, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but that is like leaving a really big imprint. Like if I actually pressed into that, can you see where that's leaving an imprint? That's how creamy these are. I'm gonna have to like be very, very careful with that one. So I feel like I'm gonna absolutely ruin that one. So this shade is Mountain Trail. How incredible. I absolutely love that shade. I really, really hope that is showing up. Yeah, I think it is. I think you can see. That is a beautiful sort of neutrally brown, and then when it's catching the light, it's almost got that like purple in it. I thought it was going to be more blue than that, but that is actually quite an intense purple shift. I love that. Again, that's the sort of shade that I would just put all over the lid and just call it a day. And then the last one we have got here is Desert Stargazing. And again, this one goes quite deep, quite dark, and this has your purples. It's got your berry tone. It's got your like more neutrally, I don't know, would you say that that's like a mauvey tone? But definitely leaning purple and definitely getting quite deep. But there's also like full moon that is quite light for blending something out. So this one is matte, this one is matte, and this one is matte. This is the same as that one that I said in the first palette, where it's like a matte with micro glitters in it, and then obviously the shimmer. So swatch. So finally, down at the bottom here, we have got Full Moon, and again, I do feel like it's probably not going to show up a ton on my skin tone. Then we have Dusk, which I actually think is more of like a rosy tone. It's definitely light, but that's the sort of tone that I could use sort of through my crease. And then we've got Astral, and this is the most beautiful purpley berry shade. Again, I really love I really love a purple. So we have that one that could just be packed all over the lid. And then we've got Nightfall, which I would have thought by the name, I would have thought by Nightfall you would have assumed that it was a black, but it's not. This is sort of like a mid-toned grey. It's not very dark at all, but I do feel like these could definitely be built up for a deeper skin tone. So I am just building up that second layer there, and this second shade along, which was called Dusk, that was the one that had those micro glitters in it, and as you can see, it doesn't really translate all that much. It is just, it's more like a satiny finish, where it doesn't really translate any more than a matte. I suppose the micro glitters will just help a little bit with blending, but those are those matte shades. Now, this centre shade looks incredible, and again, as I am dipping my finger into this, it is leaving a dent behind where it's like my finger is actually pressing into the colour. So let's put that one there. Oh, that's strange. That is not showing up as much as I thought it would. I feel like that's showing up on camera, but in real life, I feel like that is quite sheer. I'm just going to go in with a second layer on that one. Yeah, okay, yeah, that has built up. It's not as sort of shifty as the other ones, but yeah, you know what, that is pretty enough. I do feel like that is quite cool toned, and these are more warm, so I don't know if that necessarily goes with the vibe of the palette. Okay, so that is what all of those shades look like from the new Globetrotter eyeshadow palettes from Profusion. So we have got Wild Hot Spring, Canyon Oasis, Wilderness Explorer, Scenic Lake, Mountain Trail, and Desert Stargazing. I would love to know at this stage which colour story is your favourite. I definitely love the interest in Wild Hot Spring. I love that you've got these like neutrally, and by neutral I mean like everyday, sort of warm burnt orangey shades, but then you've got this pop of teal. I think that that is so interesting. I also just love the warm oranges, always love a green. I do feel like I'm a little bit let down with Scenic Lake. I just feel like that shimmer let me down. Basically, I really love the brighter pops of blue. Then this one, Mountain Trail, I love the teal, I love the more khaki shade, I love the purple, And then Desert Stargazing, again, I love the really bright pop of like, it's almost like magenta, but I would love to know which of these is your favourite just from the swatches. I am going to create some sort of an eye look now, so if you are only interested in the swatches, thank you ever so much for joining me today, but I think I'm going to go in with Canyon Oasis, this second one down. I think I just want to do something like yellow across the lid, one of the darker shades in the outer corner, this across the lid, this shimmer, and then a wing, and then a lot of lashes. So let me zoom you in and we can create an eye look. Okay, so you are zoomed in. I have put, of course, my Beauty Bay eye base across my eyelids, so we are prepped and ready for the eyeshadow. And like I say, I'm going in with Canyon Oasis today. I've got a big fluffy brush and I am just going to dip straight into Rim, this yellowy mustard shade. I'm going to dip right onto the end of this brush, tap it off because obviously I've already done my base. I don't want to be making a mess of that, and I'm just going to tap this through my crease and also like onto the lid. Obviously I'm going to be putting that shimmer across the whole lid, but I do want quite a lot of this yellowy shade across there as well for the shimmer to go over the top of. So just look how much you can build up that one colour. I feel like it's such a bright sort of summery colour, but also very sort of autumnal, which is my favourite sort of a makeup look, a really autumnal look. And I feel like it's like the changing colours of the leaves and stuff like that. I really love this mustardy yellow colour. So I'm just going to take a slightly smaller brush and I'm going to dip into Canyon, the orange shade, and I'm just going to pack that onto after I've tapped it off, onto the outer sort of half of the lid. And look, you saw in real time how much I tapped into that colour, and look how intense that pigment is, but it will also blend really easily. In fact, I've probably got enough on my brush there to do the other eye as well. Yeah, I definitely do. So just going to pack that on and then blend it into that yellow. This is almost turning into like a sunset eye look, and I'm absolutely not mad at that. I absolutely love that. So that's just those two shades, but look how intense that pigment is. I love it. So I'm just going to use this same brush because I do feel like it's small enough. I'm just going to take the very end of this and I'm just going to dip right onto the end of that brush. I'm actually just going to stamp this sort of onto my hand just to get that pigment off a little bit because I don't want it to be too dark, and I'm just going to put that right on the outer corner. I don't want too much of this shade, I don't want this to go too dark, just a little bit of depth. So just stamping this on, and then I'll go back in with that first brush with a little bit more of that yellow just to really intensify the yellow moment, because I feel like, you know, once you've got your other colours on, sometimes you can lose that a little bit, and I do love that yellow. So let me just go back in with that first brush with a little bit of that yellow shade called Rim. By the way, how much do we hate that as a shade name? Not going to go into that, but let's just ignore that and blend, shall we? So I've also sort of mirrored what I've put on the lid under the eyes, so the yellow is all the way along and then the red is just more so on that outer corner. And now I'm just going to take my finger again, dip into that shimmery shade, which this one is called Natural Wonder, and I'm just going to pat this all over the lid on that inner half of the eye. I don't want this to go too like disperse too far. I do just want to keep it on the lid, so being quite careful with where I'm applying that. That shimmer is beautiful. So one last little blend now that I've got all of that shimmer on, and I am thrilled with how this has turned out. I absolutely love these colours and I feel like my eyes look so blue. It's blended really, really beautifully. We've got a lot of depth on the outer corner, but it's still really nice and bright on the inner corner. You can see where I put the yellow and then the orange and then the red, but it's all just blended so easily and they're so pigmented. I love this formula. So I'm going to go in with some liquid liner now, and I'm going to use the brown version of my favourite liquid liner. If you are going onto the Profusion website to pick up any of these palettes, just trust me. Just take my word for it, even though I can't hold it, I'm throwing it at myself. Pick up either the black or the brown, both of them are great. I recommend both. The Everlasting waterproof liquid eyeliners, they are incredible. The coloured ones, like the pastel ones, they're fine, they're not my favourite. The black and the brown, chef's kiss. So I'm just going to shake up the bottle because obviously it is a liquid that's in there. Just going to shake this up and do a big old wing because you know me. So that is the eyeliner done, and as you can see it is just the most perfect brown shade. It's so beautiful. Like, I feel like some browns are so dark that they just look like a black, and like at that point you may as well just use a black, whereas this, I feel like it's got such an intense sort of warmth to it. It's like a rich chocolatey brown, and I do feel like you can tell a difference. Like, it just looks a little bit softer, even though I've got a big dark wing. I do feel like it just looks beautiful, especially with this eye look. Now, I don't have a Profusion mascara that I love, so I'm just going to use this one because this is also brown and it's also a very affordable mascara option. This is the Essence Lash Without Limits in brown, so I'm just going to layer up a little bit of this and then we'll be done. Okay, so that's the mascara on, and before I zoom you out, I feel like for me and how I like to look, I just want a little pop of something a little bit brighter on the inner corner. So I'm just going to go in with Essence, the highlighter, with a small, sort of very dense pencil sort of a brush, and I'm just going to pop a little bit. Just a little bit right on that inner corner. I did also get mascara all over my eyelids, so if things looking a little bit different there, now you know why. So I'm just gonna tap that out with that first fluffy brush, and now I am done. I feel like myself with that little pop of brightness right on the inner corner. So let me know what you think of this finished look. If you've made it to the very, very end of this video, I do apologise. This is probably going to be quite a long one. Thank you very much for sticking with me there. So I would love to know which of these is your favourite. If you have made it to the very, very end of this video, I just want to say from the very, very bottom of my heart, thank you ever so much for watching this video, for spending a little bit of your day with me. It really does mean the world to me. It helps me out a ton. If you'd be so kind as to like this video and also leave a comment, it really helps me out a lot in the old algorithm, helps more people join our little corner of the internet. But thank you ever so much for watching. Like I say, it really does mean ever so much. I'm absolutely thrilled to spend a little bit of my day with you. But until next time, thank you ever so much for watching. Bye.